The Enchanted Wood by Enid Blyton. Chapter 18. The Land of Take What You Want. The next day was very fine. The children helped their mother to clean the whole house, and Joe proudly brought in some fine green beans and lettuces from the garden, which he'd grown himself. Mother was very pleased. "You can go off and play after lunch if you like," she said. "You've been so very good today." The children looked at one another in glee. Just what they'd hoped for. Oh, good. "Come on," said Joe after lunch. "We won't waste any time." "What about something to drink?" said Beth. "Shouldn't we take some lemonade with us?" "Oh, I think we should be able to get lemonade all right from the land of Take What You Want," said Joe with a grin. So they all ran off, waving to Mother as they went. They were soon in the Enchanted Wood, hearing the trees whispering secretly to one another. Wish-a, wish-a, wish-a. They ran through the bushes and trees to the Faraway Tree, and up they went. When they passed the window of the angry pixie, Joe peeped in, just for fun, but he was sorry he did, for the angry pixie was there, and he threw a bowl of cold soup all over Joe. "Oh," said Joe in dismay, as he saw his shirt splashed with soup. "You wicked pixie!" The angry pixie went into peals of delighted laughter and banged his window shut. "Oh, pooh! You do smell of onions now, Joe," said Beth, wrinkling up her nose. "I hope the smell wears off soon." Joe wiped himself down with his handkerchief. He said to himself that one day he would pay the angry pixie back. "Come on," said Franny impatiently. "We'll never get there." They passed the Banner's door and saw him sitting inside, fast asleep. Then they came to Silky's little yellow door, but she wasn't in. There was a note pinned on her door, though, which said, "Out, back soon." "She must be with Moonface," said Joe. "Now, just look out for Dame Washalot's water, everyone." It was a very good thing he reminded them, for not long after that a fine waterfall of soapy suds came pouring down. "Ah!" Franny screamed and dodged. So did Beth. Joe got some on his shirt and was now very cross. "Never mind," said Franny with a giggle. "It will wash off maybe some of the onion soup, Joe." They went on up and came to Mr. What's-his-name's home. He was, as usual, sitting in a deck chair, fast asleep, with his mouth open, snoring. And beside him, also fast asleep, was the old saucepan man, who was looking most uncomfortable, draped around as usual with saucepans and kettles. "Don't wake them," whispered Joe. "We better not stop and talk." So they crept by them. But just as they got to the next branch, the saucepan man woke up. He sniffed hard and jabbed Mr. What's-his-name. "What's the matter? What's the matter?" said his friend. "Can you smell onions?" asked the saucepan man. "I distinctly smell onions. Do you suppose the Faraway Tree is growing onions somewhere near us today? Oh, I love onion soup." Joe and the girls laughed till they cried. "It's the onion soup on your shirt that the saucepan man smelt," said Beth. "Oh, my goodness, they'll spend all afternoon looking for onions growing on the Faraway Tree." They left the two funny old men and went climbing up, and they got nicely caught by Dame Washalot's second lot of water. She was doing a great deal of washing that day and decided that that would be the time to empty a big wash tub down the tree, just as the three children were nearly underneath. Slishy, sloshy, slishy, sloshy. The water came pouring down and soaked all of the children. They gasped, "Oh," and shook themselves like dogs. "Quick," said Joe. "We will go as fast as we can go to Moonface's house and borrow some towels from him. This is dreadful." They arrived at Moonface's at last. Old Moonface and Silky rushed out to hug them, but, well, no, they stopped when they saw how dripping wet the children were. And, yes, they were very surprised. "Oh, dear, is it raining?" said Moonface. Have you had a bath in your clothes?" asked Silky. No, it's just Dame Washalot's water as usual, said Joe crossly. We dodged the first lot, but didn't manage to dodge the second lot. Can you lend us some towels? Moonface grinned, pulled some towels out of his curved cupboard and handed them over. As the children rubbed themselves down, Moonface told them all about the land of Take What You Want. It's a marvellous land, he said. You are allowed to wander all over it and take whatever you want for yourselves without paying a penny. Everyone goes there if they can, or do come and visit with me and Silky. Now, is it quite safe? Asked Joe, rubbing his hair dry.
Oh, yes, said Silky. The only thing is, we must be careful not to stay there too long in case it leaves the Faraway Tree and we can't get down. But Moonface says he will sit by the ladder and give a loud whistle if he sees any sign of the land moving away.
Good, said Joe. Well, there are plenty of things we want, so, it sounds like it's a good idea. Should we go now? They all climbed up the topmost branch to the great white cloud. The ladder led through the hole as usual to the land above. One by one they climbed it and stood in the strange country above the magic land. It was indeed strange. It was simply crowded with things and people. It was quite difficult to move about. Animals of all kinds wandered here and there. Sacks of all sorts of things, from gold to potatoes, stood everywhere about. And stalls with the most wonderful vegetables and fruit were everywhere. Even such things as chairs and tables were to be found, waiting for anyone to just take them. Oh, good gracious, said Joe. Can we really take anything we want? Anything, said Moonface, settling himself by the ladder in the cloud. Look at those gnomes over there. They mean to take all the gold they can find. The children looked to where Moonface was pointing, and sure enough, there were 4 gnomes, hauling and pulling at all the sacks of gold in sight. One by one, they staggered off to the ladder with them and disappeared down the Faraway Tree. Other fairy folk hunted for, the different things they wanted. Dresses, coats, shoes, singing birds, pictures, all kinds of things. As soon as they found what they were looking for, they rushed off to the ladder in glee and slipped down it. Moonface found it fun just to sit and watch them. The others wandered off, looking at everything in surprise.
Do you want a nice fat lion, Joe? Asked Silky, as a large lion wandered by and licked Silky's hand.
No, thank you, said Joe at once.
Well, what about a giraffe?
Asked Silky again.
I believe that giraffes make fine pets.
No, I believe that you might be wrong in that case, said Beth, as a tall giraffe galloped past like a giant rocking horse. Nobody in their senses would want to keep a giraffe for a pet.
Oh, look!
Cried Franny as she came to a shop in which stood a great many large and beautiful clocks.
Oh, let's take a clock back home.
No, thank you, said Joe. We know what we want and we'll take that and nothing else.
Well, I think I should like a clock, said Silky,
and she picked up a small clock with a very nice smiley face. It had 2 feet underneath, which wiggled hard as Silky picked up the clock.
Ow! It wants to walk,
said Beth with a scream of laughter.
Oh, do let it, Silky. I've never seen a clock walk before.
Silky put the clock down and it trotted beside them on its big, flat feet. The children thought it was the funniest thing they had ever seen. Oh, Silky was very pleased with her new clock. It was the kind of thing that everyone should really want. And it chimed every hour on the hour, sometimes in between too. And it had to be wound up with a key every night to keep it ticking.
Oh, just what I've always wanted, she said. I shall keep it at the back of my room.
You don't suppose it's going to actually stay there, do you, Silky? Asked Beth. It will wander around and about and poke its nose into everything you're doing. And if it doesn't like you, it will just simply run away. Ding dong, said the clock suddenly, as in a very clear voice it began to tick and chime and made them all jump. It stopped walking when it chimed, but then it ran after the children and Silky again at once. It really was a very most extraordinary clock. Now come on, said Joe, we really must look for what we want. Are those hens over there, Beth? Oh, yes, they are, said Beth. Oh, good, come along, we'll get them. Oh, this really is a lovely land. I am glad we came. What fun it will be getting everything we want. I do wonder what Mother will say when we get home. And that's the end of that chapter. So, do you think the children will manage to get everything that their parents want? And do you think that that's all that they'll come home with? Would you be able to go to the land of take what you want and leave all of the other things you might see? And what do you think their mummy and daddy are going to say when they come home with hens and a goat? And what was the other thing that was needed? What did their father want them to find? Well, we'll find out what happens in the next chapter. Bye-bye.